A heavy metallic stench hung in the air of the quiet Mesa, Arizona home, clinging to the walls like a warning. It was early June 2008, the kind of blistering desert afternoon where heat presses down on everything, making even breathing feel urgent. Inside the house, silence ruled. Too perfect, too clean, too wrong. When police followed the odor to the master bathroom, they found Travis Alexander lying in the shower, lifeless. What looked at first like a domestic tragedy would soon unravel into one of the most disturbing murder trials America had ever witnessed. There were no signs of forced entry, no ransacked rooms, just a brutal stillness, as if the violence had been carefully contained behind closed doors. Friends had reported Travis missing after days of unanswered calls and texts. He was supposed to be on a trip. Instead, he was here, alone, vulnerable, and very much dead. Detectives moved quickly, knowing that time was already working against them. Travis was 30, charismatic, deeply religious, and well-known in his community. He sold prepaid legal services, traveled often, and kept meticulous records of his life. His housemates were gone, leaving him alone in the home that day. Whoever did this hadn't broken in. They'd been invited. As investigators began to piece together Travis's final hours, a name kept surfacing: Jodi Arias. She wasn't just an ex-girlfriend. She was complicated, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. Friends described her as intense devoted one moment, volatile the next. Jodi and Travis had met at a work conference years earlier, and their relationship burned hot and fast. It was passionate, secretive, and deeply conflicted, especially given Travis's strong religious beliefs. Even after they broke up, they never truly let go. Police learned that Jodi had driven from California to Arizona around the time of Travis's death. She told friends CPs he was on a road trip heading toward Utah. It sounded casual, too casual, but when detectives asked her directly, Jodi denied being anywhere near Mesa. She said she hadn't seen Travis in months. Her voice was calm, cooperative, almost rehearsed, yet something didn't add up. Inside Travis's bedroom, investigators found his camera damaged, but not destroyed. The memory card inside was cracked, as if someone had tried to snap it in half. Technicians worked carefully, knowing digital evidence could be fragile. When they recovered the images, time seemed to stop. The photos told a story no one was prepared to see. They showed Travis alive, relaxed, smiling, taken just hours before his death. And then, abruptly, the tone shifted. The final images captured chaos, fear, and a struggle frozen in time. The timestamps placed the photos on the very day Travis was murdered, and reflected faintly in one of those images was a familiar face: Jodi Arias. The woman who claimed she hadn't been there was suddenly standing at the center of the crime scene, caught by a lens she hadn't realized was watching. Detectives now had proof that Jodi had lied, about where she was, about when she'd last seen Travis, about everything. When confronted, Jodi's story changed. Then it changed again. First, she claimed masked intruders were responsible. Then she said she acted in self-defense. Each version contradicted the last, pulling investigators deeper into a psychological maze of manipulation, obsession, and control. But the most chilling discovery was still to come. Because hidden inside Travis's life beneath the charm, the faith, the carefully managed image was a secret connection to Jodi that suggested this wasn't a crime of passion gone wrong. It was something planned, and when detectives uncovered what Jodi had done in the days leading up to the murder, everything they thought that they understood about this case shattered. By the time detectives circled back to Jodi Arias, the case was no longer just about a murder. It was about lies layered so thick they began to feel deliberate, almost engineered. Every statement Jodi gave seemed designed not to explain the truth, but to test how much she could bend it before it snapped. Investigators retraced her movements in the days before Travis Alexander was killed. What they found painted a picture that was anything but spontaneous. Jodi had rented a car in California, but instead of driving straight to Utah as she claimed, she took a long, winding detour through Arizona. Gas receipts told the story she wouldn't. Surveillance cameras caught glimpses of her along the route. She had even purchased extra gas cans, an odd choice for a casual road trip, but a useful one if you didn't want to leave a trail. Inside Travis's home, forensic evidence spoke louder than words. Blood spatter analysis revealed a violent struggle that moved from the bedroom to the bathroom. This wasn't a single moment of rage. It was prolonged, personal, and relentless. Travis had defensive wounds. He fought back. And yet, the attack didn't stop. Friends began coming forward with details that made investigators uneasy. They described Jodi's jealousy, her fixation on Travis even after their breakup. She monitored his emails, his phone, his movements. When Travis began seeing other women, Jodi spiraled. She showed up unannounced. She sent long, emotional messages that swung between devotion and accusation. Love, for her, didn't end, it tightened. Then there were the photos. Forensic technicians enhanced the images recovered from Travis's camera. The last clear photo of him alive showed no fear, no tension. He trusted the person behind the lens. Minutes later, the images shifted into panic. A body slumped, blood on tile. A struggle half captured, half erased. Whoever attacked, and as the trial loomed closer, one question haunted everyone following the case. If Jodi Arias was capable of planning this much, what else had she planned to hide? Because the truth she was about to reveal next would shock even the people who thought they'd seen everything. The courtroom was silent in a way that felt unnatural, as if every breath had been carefully rationed. By the time the trial reached its final weeks, the story of Travis Alexander's death had stopped being just a legal case. It had become a national obsession. Every stare, every pause, every word from the witness stand was dissected by millions watching from afar. And then, Jodi Arias took the stand. She spoke softly, choosing her words with precision, eyes shifting between vulnerability and defiance. This time her story changed again. The masked intruders were gone. In their place was a new claim self-defense. She described Travis as violent, uncontrollable, someone she feared for her life around. It was a last attempt to rewrite the narrative, to flip victim and killer in the minds of the jury. But the evidence refused to bend. Medical examiners testified to the sheer brutality of the attack. Travis had been stabbed dozens of times. His throat was slashed. A gunshot wound to the head appeared to be the final act, an execution, not a struggle. The order of injuries told a story of escalation, not fear, of rage, not survival. Prosecutors dismantled Jodi's testimony piece by piece. They replayed her interviews, highlighting contradictions. They showed the jury her calm demeanor in the days after the murder. The road trip, she continued as if nothing had happened. They returned again and again to the camera, the silent witness Jodi never accounted for. And then came the motive. It wasn't money. It wasn't sudden anger. It was control. Text messages and emails revealed a relationship buildup. A charming man, a secret relationship, a woman who couldn't let go, and a crime that proved how dangerous love can become when control replaces humanity. They thought the truth would end the nightmare. But for those who followed every twist, every lie, every chilling smile, the story of Jodi Arias never truly ends. If this case shook you, stay close, because the next story will pull you even deeper into the darkness. The verdict may have ended the trial, but it did not end the story. In the weeks after sentencing, the courtroom emptied, the cameras packed up, and the public slowly moved on. But behind prison walls, Jodi Arias did not fade into silence. Instead, she adapted. She learned the system, she learned the attention, and she learned how to keep herself relevant. From her cell, Jodi began granting interviews. Her tone was calm, almost serene. She spoke about faith, about growth, about being misunderstood. Each time she told the story, the details shifted just enough to keep people listening. She insisted she had been painted as a monster, that the media had twisted her image, that the jury had been influenced by emotion instead of truth. To some, it sounded rehearsed. To others, it sounded convincing. Psychologists who studied the case noted something chilling. Jodi never spoke about Travis as a person she lost. She spoke about him as a chapter in her story, one she still believed she had the right to control. Even from prison, she remained the center of her own narrative. Travis Alexander's family lived with a very different reality. They spoke about the man he was before the headlines, his humor, his ambition, his faith, the way his life had been reduced, in public memory, to the moment it ended. For them, justice did not bring peace. It brought permanence, a reminder that no verdict could undo what had been taken. Years passed. The case refused to disappear. True crime documentaries revisited every detail. Armchair analysts replayed interrogation footage frame by frame. Some questioned the psychology. Others questioned the system. A few even questioned the verdict itself. The story became a battleground between evidence and belief. But one thing never changed: the photographs. Those images, captured in seconds, preserved by accident, remained the most powerful evidence in the case. They didn't argue, they didn't speculate, they simply existed. A timeline frozen in pixels, a reminder that truth doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it survives quietly, waiting to be found. Investigators later admitted that without that camera, the case would have been far more difficult. Lies had been convincing, alibis had been rehearsed, but the lens saw what words tried to hide. And that may be the most unsettling lesson of all. Not that evil looks obvious, not that danger announces itself, but that obsession can wear the face of affection, and control can disguise itself as love. People still ask the same question. Was there a moment when this could have ended differently? A text not sent, a door not opened, a boundary not crossed. No one knows. What remains is a cautionary tale about intimacy without limits, about secrets kept too long, about what happens when someone refuses to let go. They say prison walls end a threat, but some stories prove that the most dangerous part of a crime isn't the act itself. It's the way it lingers in the minds of everyone who dares to understand it. And if this story kept you watching until the end, then you already know. The next one won't let you look away either.